So I was scrolling Twitter the other day and found this tweet about Brooklyn Beckham's photo book, Elephants in Kenya. So hard to photograph, but incredible to see. And I barely knew who Brooklyn Beckham was, but I could guess who his parents are. And here are some of the comments and reviews that I found in that Twitter thread. My dog sat on my phone the other day and activated the camera. The photos taken by my dog's butt were better than the pictures in this book. If Penguin wishes to create another of these, I suggest collaborating with a celebrity who's actually good at photography, rather than an 18-year-old rich kid who probably doesn't know what a polarizer is. I've given this book to my hamster to show him that he too could be a published photographer. If you ever feel like giving up on photography, just remember, this is Brooklyn Beckham's photo book. Oh, you are in for a treat. Dinner. I like this picture. It's out of focus, but you can tell there's a lot going on. I love this. It's like, the picture is obviously bad, I know that, but there is a lot going on, so it still has a place in my book with my best works of all time. And by the way, it's actually not out of focus, it's just blurry because he was shaking the camera. And this happens a lot if you shoot in automatic mode, as you often do as a beginner, because then when you're in a dark place, the shutter speed goes very low. And if you don't know then that you have to hold the camera really still or put it on a tripod, well, then you will have motion blur. And this elephant shot, it actually is kind of funny because it's pretty obvious to an experienced photographer that the only thing he should have done is expose for the elephant, meter for the middle of the frame and not for the background. This mistake is very common when you have a very large dynamic range in the photo, because then it's impossible to have everything in good exposure, so you have to pick one part of the picture. And if you're shooting in automatic mode, as beginners often do, then it's a big chance that the background will be what's metered for, and then the subject will become a silhouette. And a lot of people, this actually is kind of petty, I think, but maybe a little bit funny. A lot of people are showing off their elephant photos to feel smug about being better than Brooklyn Beckham at photographing elephants. So after reading this thread on Twitter, I was pretty curious about this book. Was it really as bad as the tweet said? So I went ahead and bought it. It was actually on sale and very, very cheap. I got it for like $8. And it's beautifully bound and printed, and the book itself is really high quality. I have to say they did a good job with that, and the pictures are nicely arranged in nice layouts and so on. And it's pretty obvious that Brooklyn Beckham isn't that skillful as a photographer. You see a lot of hallmarks of a beginner in photography, such as the classic mirror selfie with a Leica. You have a lot of these going on. I guess it's something that beginners love doing. I mean, I've done it a lot myself as well, because you have nothing to photograph, but you want to give off this image of photographer who has a cool camera and who knows how to focus manually. Well, at least most of the time. Another trope that beginners often do that is very common is you're not able to pick out the best photo from a series of photos, and instead you just publish the whole series because you cannot pick the best photo. This is something we see a lot of in the book as well. But I have to say that there are some beautiful, really masterful, nice photographs in this book as well. For example, this photo when we see Brooklyn Beckham riding a skate. Wait a minute. If Brooklyn Beckham is the subject of the photo, it means he did not take it. I'm just kidding. There are actually some good ones here that I must assume that Brooklyn took himself. For example, some of the portraits of his father, David Beckham, I think they're really nice. Good lighting, good composition, just really nice photos that could easily have been taken by a great photographer. But I do have to say that making fun of this book is a bit uncalled for, because Brooklyn Beckham, I don't think he ever called himself a pro photographer, like an accomplished photographer. When he writes about his work in his book, he basically just writes about a passion for photography that he has had for 4 years since he got his first camera. And I think he's pretty modest about his photos. He just says that these are my favorite photos, and I was approached to publish a book about them, and I said yes. I mean, What photography enthusiast would say no if they were approached by a big publisher who asked them to publish photos of their work? I would certainly say yes, and I think most photographers would as well. And a lot of the critique against Brooklyn Beckham is of course that he isn't that skillful as a photographer, but still he got this book deal. But that just shows that people don't really understand what a brand is and how important it is to sell something. I think it is pretty obvious to anyone who knows about brand building in art, and probably to Brooklyn himself, that yeah, he didn't get this book deal because his photos are awesome. He got this book deal because he is a famous individual that a lot of people are interested in and curious about. He has a strong personal brand. And this is something that we can take with us as photographers, that it doesn't matter if your art is the best in the world. If you don't have a brand, if people don't know about you, no one will care about your work. When I was an entrepreneur within e-commerce and built an e-commerce company, my philosophy was that you should put 50% of the budget into building a great product, a great service that people would love to use and consume, but also 50% of the budget should go to marketing, to building your brand and getting known, and that is how you achieve success within anything. Even if you're just working a regular job, if you are the best one in your workplace but don't know how to market yourself as a competent worker, then you will not have the highest salary. The highest salary goes to the people who are both good and to know how to market themselves and to ask for a raise. And I think the same applies within art. The most successful artists aren't necessarily the best ones at their craft. They are the ones that are pretty good at their craft but also pretty good at building their own personal brand and reaching out to people. And those are two separate things, but you need to understand that you need to do both of them to succeed. And with Brooklyn Beckham, obviously, he has succeeded very well with having a great brand. And yes, of course, he didn't do that work himself. His parents did that work for him. But that is why he gets a book deal. He is a celebrity, and that is why you clicked on this video. You know about Brooklyn Beckham, or at least you know the surname Beckham, and you would be interested to know about his photography because of that. If I would have made this video about some unknown person who also took bad photos, you would not be interested at all. And that is just how the world works, and you have to accept it and take advantage of that to succeed as a photographer. And I also have to give it to Brooklyn that this book reminds me so much of my own beginnings as a photographer. You get into photography, you start loving it a lot, you get obsessed, you want to try everything, you try all the different kinds of photography, you try long exposures of different kinds, you try street photography, you try landscape photography, you take photos of your friends, you do experiments at home with different kind of exposure times and different kind of lighting. And this is exactly what Brooklyn has done now for the first 4 years of his photography career. And sure, he's not a master yet, but who is a master in anything after 4 years? And also, he never claimed to be a master. But what he should have done is he should have watched my video about the 8 most common beginner mistakes in photography, because he makes several of these mistakes in almost every photograph in this book. And what he should have done as well is subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I post new photography videos every week. See you soon again. Bye bye.